Nine Brides in Granny Height, Chapter 13, The Day of Glory. Spring with its weddings and summer with its housewarmings were gone. It was fall. Snow had fallen in the high places. On Tuesday, November the 4th, Zelda Poldaski jumped from bed earlier than usual, which was early indeed. "Stepan, children, it is the day of election." "It is a day of drizzle." Steve pulled on his scratchy work clothes, looked out into the dripping blackness, and closed the door of the snug peeled log house his neighbors had helped him build. Sleeping with the doors open, to night air full of owl hoots and skunk whiffs and frog cracks was still a strange American custom to him, though he had lived there for some years by now. He kicked up the hearth embers. "It's only your Republican elephant that minds rain," scoffed Zelda. "Not my Democrat donkey," she giggled. In great fun and some heat had the good argument over politics been raging ever since the adult Poldaskis had won their citizenship papers. The unbelievable joy of being able to think, talk, and shout as they pleased about public issues had been more than salt and mustard to their table. It had been wine to their souls. "Up, children!" Zelda called from the other room of the double cabin. Her quick fingers braided and coiled her heavy hair. "You shall see Mama, Papa, and the good Grandpa help name sheriff, county judge, even president of whole United States." "Mama, what is sheriff?" asked Joseph. His sister was up and wriggling into her dress. "It is a tax on things from oversea like matzock and herring, foolish." Their tall cousin Ladislas of single hand set her right with a playful rumple. "No, smarty, that would be tariff. Sheriff catches people. He is police." "Police!" The cry came from Mitzvah. Her little body went taut. "Police ride people down." Zelda gently explained to her daughter, as so often since they had come to this country, "Here is not like that, Mitzvah dear. In good America, we who are of the people choose the police who are by and for the people." Steve said flatly, "We are not afraid of police or soldiers. If they go at us on GOP elephant, come at us." "The two words you always mix," chided Zelda. But she affirmed to the children, "Papa says truth. Just the same, I would rather see them come at us on a donkey. On sweet little Democrat donkey." Zelda bundled her father, the children's grandpa, into his clothes and shawl. Steve and the boys plunged into thinning darkness and, stomping off mud, returned with eggs, pail of milk, piggin of water, and cooking wood. Smell of the barnyard came in with them. "So hard it goes down now, the rain," stated Steve, wiping his scarred face. "It goes down cats and mice." "Comes down cats and mice," Zelda said wearily. "Such nonsense of the English language do you make, Stepan." The shawl-wrapped grandpa, sitting before the fire, voiced morning prayers in a back-of-nose sing-song, which had in it all the woes of the world since Egypt, while the girls bustled with the breakfast. Grits in red gravy and preserves in syrup for all but the old one, who had to have his cabbage soup. "Now," pronounced Zelda heartily, "off we go to see how America governs herself. To the schoolhouse we shall be by 7 o'clock. The good grandpa does not walk fast, so we start at once. Mordecai, where are the fine rubbers Papa buys for you from the Toller store? Sarah, cover the borscht." "Soup, Ma," reminded Sarah, who was the quick one in school. "This is the United States of America, Cat Track Hollow Precinct, Peckerwood School District." "That I should forget." They set out, feeling their way through the sodden leaves and fallen brush. Steve and his nephew Ladislas carried at times the very small Michael and Rachel. Dawn crept mistily over the hills of this generations-old clearing, this homespun valley off the road of a clanging 20th century New World nation. Zelda breathed deeply of the autumn odors of rick and stubble field, rusty corn shock, and sleeping orchard. She giggled for pure glee. The silver baubles at her ears bounced and glinted. Her eyes shone. Her fingers trembled as they clung by turns to Mordecai, Mitzvah, Yoshki, Sarah, and the toddlers. It was still early gray after an hour of walking when they reached the shabby schoolhouse on its steep creek bank. Rain pounded on its leaf-heaped roof, but to Zelda's eyes, a kind of glory, a light of enchantment danced over the drab structure. For this was where her children and her sister Anna's fine son Ladislas came daily to drink at the generous fount of reading, writing, and numbers, and to hear the grand messages of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln. It was here that she and Stepan and Anna and many grown-up neighbors also came to night school on moonlit nights. She flattened her nose to the window before entering. Someone was poking wood into a pot-bellied stove. The election officials were laying out papers on a table. Some candles had been lit. Their swirls made great wall shadows of these neighbors, as if the act of becoming ballot box officers had changed them into giants. The flickers chased across the flag above the clock. It was a paper flag, ruled and crayoned by hand. Under the uneven light, it actually seemed to ripple. One nation, indivisible, murmured Zelda, remembering her citizenship lessons from Miss Corey, the schoolteacher. With liberty and justice for all, including the right to choose government and cast it out. They went in, and she greeted her good friend Granny Height and some others. Granny, kindly old lady with the clear eyes and the shrewd wits, sat at one end of the table with the precinct book open before her. 46 voters, Granny informed, now that you Poladskis are citizens. I was afraid all would vote before the children could come here to see, said Zelda. Land of Jordan, you needn't have rushed. The clock hands reached 7. Rumbled Tecumseh Hewitt, a large man with a brain barrel voice. The polls are now open. Cump, you and Amos go ahead and vote, directed Granny Height. To Zelda, they voted first in every election since Garfield. Zelda tried to count how many presidents those two pairs of shoulders, the broad and the narrow, had helped lift into office. Cump and Amos stepped into the 2 curtained booths. They came out looking important. The other election officers voted. Then Zelda, Steve, and Grandpa. Zelda's heart pounded as Cump Hewitt dropped her ballot with a rustle into the long tin box. She exclaimed as she joined her family. It was wonderful, children. Did you see Mama's feet under the curtain? For the donkey I have stamped one great stamp. No electioneering within 100 feet of the polls, thundered Tecumseh Hewitt. If you foreigners want to stay, you must sit quietly. We stay, notified Zelda promptly. We are citizens. Here are our second papers. All day we stay and watch the politics. Minutes passed. No one else appeared. Amos Toller departed to open up his mountain store, and Bide Beckett, smelling of forge and tanyard, stoked the stove. Daylight seeped through the windows, and rain spanged with growing fury. A leak in the ceiling made it necessary to shift the ballot box. The ticking clock read 7:30. Sabrina Vasey discussed blackberry jam with Granny Height. Both women had brought their knitting. Bide and Cump discussed the ailments of calves. 7:45, Mrs. Peeler, the schoolma'am, whom the children still called Miss Corey, came in and hung her soaking raincoat on a hook by the door. She said, "Good morning," and went forward to her scarred desk. A splash from above fell upon her hair, making diamonds. Miss Corey was young and pretty, and diamonds became her, but Bide and Steve sprang to move her desk. Pupils clopped and pattered in, some in shoes, but more of them barefoot. They eyed their elders at the back of the room with show-off antics or blank indifference. The room became stuffy with drying cotton and steaming wool. The Poldaski young people joined their schoolmates on the backless, split-out benches. At Miss Corey's signal, all rose. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Zelda chanted with the rest, the great upwelling of her heart almost giddying her. At 8:15, her husband pinched her round arm. Where is everybody with their votes? They do not go here yet? Come here yet, corrected Zelda automatically. Maybe it is chores that they still do. They come here soon, I think. But not by 8:30 or 9, Steve poked her. Zelda, we come home now? The barn I wish to clean. No, we shall miss something. The rain was solid clatter, lashed by wind. Cat Track Run roared under a corner of the floor. Smoke from a hole in the stovepipe had everyone coughing. At 9:30, Clump Hewitt mumbled to the Poladskis, "This is going slower than last time. We had 10 ballots at this hour, counting the tellers." "Only 10?" Zelda forgot to whisper. The words were shocked out of her. "Was it also day of storm?" "No, it was a real nice day, but folks were kind of busy. And yes, I remember there was an auction somewhere." The crayon flag, with no more candles flickering, chasing over it, lay stiff against the wall. Granny Height spoke. "We had 12 voters, the last 2 come in just at closing." "But I do not understand." Zelda's voice climbed. "The whole class and Miss Corey's were looking." She lowered it. "If only 12 vote out of 40, who decides what is wise, what is just? Who runs country?" Grunted Bide Beckett. "Mainly those with axes to grind." Granny Height supplied. "He means like Amos Toller and Clump Hewitt. They've been swapping the postmaster job party in, party out more years than a toad has warts." Steve tugged at his wife's sleeve. "I have own axe to grind, saw to file, tree to cut. Come home now, Zelda?" "It is to go home, you mean. Such a hash of the English." "But we do not go yet, Stephen Poladsky. What I hear about only 12 voters, I see before I believe. Right here we stay." 10:15, 10. No voters. The flag on the wall reminded Zelda of something. She tried to pull it from her mind, but there it was, lifeless, like a dead eagle, nailed on barn. An idea came to her. It was a blast of warmth from the open stove. She broke in on the geography lesson. "Miss Corey, I mean Mrs. Peeler, I wish to take down flag that is over clock. I, Zelda Polatsky, and Stephen and Anna and children, we will hold it in the wind and call out in a loud voice, 'See, it is free! It flies! This is day to vote!'" "Zelda," Steve dragged at her with strong fingers, "it is school you disturb. Always you are woman. You must talk, talk, talk." "I want flag." "Mrs. Poladsky, I'm sure it wouldn't last 1 minute in this rain," said Corey. "It's only paper. We have no funds. We did the best we could." "Then I go home. I make flag. Father, so hard it rains, you and small Rachel and Michael stay here. Stepan and Ladislas and the other young ones come." "But Mrs. Poladsky, they are doing so well." "You think I take them home from school for good?" "No, no, I show you. It is wasp I have in bonnet. Children up!" Shamed by the school children's laughter, 5 young Poladskis and Steve followed her from the room. "You shall see," said Zelda, afire with her project. "Home we go. March!" In half an hour, they were at the Poladsky cabin. "We work all together," said Zelda briskly. She unrolled a bundle of odd-sized wools and linens. As dress stuff, the goods, full of rents and often scrubbed, was quite beyond use. But for this need it would have to do. She caught up a piece of white. "Sarah, Mitzvah, you shall cut it into many star shapes. So. Not with 6 points, Mitzvah, with 5. Today we do not make Star of David." Her voice choked as it always did on the word David. "This other white yoshki will be cut into 6 strips. Mordecai, make 7 of this red. And there is a nice velvet. It is blue. Now we will sew. We baste quickly. We do not stop to hem. There is not the time." After diligent moments, "A long stick, Stepan. The rake handle. Fine, but we must also make a noise. The kettle. Pour the soup into the stone crock, Sarafel. Yoshki, you carry Mama's kettle and beat it with the great spoon. Ready? Back to the schoolhouse. March!" In another half hour, returning, and she had to show the flag to Miss Corey for approval. "Is it all right?" she asked anxiously. "So short the day is." "It's splendid, Mrs. Poladsky. Where are you going with it?" "To everywhere that is voter who is late."